First, I'm not sure. Is it supposed to be a cat? Because if it is, it's upside down.
Oh, so everything's upside down?
I think it is, yeah.
Is that better? I think it's a tiger.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So when you use India ink with children, you get this very raw, uncertain, graphic-y line that I don't think you quite get with a Sharpie or a permanent marker. So if I'm able to use a bamboo pen or a stick or a little tree branch or something, I will. You can't always do that. For our purposes, we're going to be using Sharpies. But I just want to show you the quality of difference. Now, this is on muslin, and I had the kids making little individual pillows, and these got left behind, which is unfortunate because I think they're fabulous. And this is colored with colored ink, but you can also use watercolor for this kind of process. But just notice the quality of the line. And here's another one. I think we were doing jungle animals, and you'll get little splotches and splatters, but it's all part of what makes it interesting and very graphic. Here is another one. We've got some butterflies. There's some kind of odd snake climbing up what might be a tree. I'm not sure. I think this is another snake down here. Wait, you can't see it. This is another snake down here. This is a snake. But just the color and the fact that some of the lines are thick, they'll go over their line. And I just want you to contrast it with using a Sharpie. You see what I mean? The Sharpie is just more uniform. It's just this line that's just much more easily controlled. And so while it's very nice and sweet, it just doesn't, for me, have as much graphic joy. So so I just wanted to show you the sample, just so you know, if you're ever in a situation where you can use ink, you should. For the purposes of Zoom and so on, we're going to just do what we have to do here, which is we're going to use a Sharpie. But I want to just show you the quality and how you do it. Now, you always, if you are going to use ink, you warn kids, you make sure they have smocks on, and you never put very much into a container because you'll be really, really sorry. I would always have the students draw their images. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about how to draw a face, but I'll just begin to draw a face, my face. That's going to be enough. So you only pour out what you're willing to let them spill. And just remember, you can't have war without casualties. There will be children who spill it, but you need very, very low containers. Meow Mix containers are great. You can also tape these. You can do a bubble tape with masking tape. You can tape them to the table, and then they'll just be less likely to spill over. And you can demonstrate, but basically what happens is it's like an old-fashioned nib. The ink gets caught in the edge, and so you get this beautiful. Now you can control it, but when you're dealing with kids drawing, they're going to blop it and bloop it, and I just think the quality is really much better. One side is really skinny. This is a fatter line. If you use a stick, you can see maybe it doesn't quite hold the ink the same way, but you can get some decent lines. But even something like that, you're not going to worry about. And I had my twig, but I don't know what happened to it. It has decided to, I don't know, fall on the floor. So, well, here it is. I did one lesson that always was very, very popular always in the fall when there'd be a lot of stuff on the ground, leaves and seed pods and things like that. You can see how soft and beautiful just using a little twig is. You can really get some beautiful lines like that. You don't have to spend all the money on the fancy whatever. But anyway, we'd go for a walk. We would I gave everybody a brown paper bag, and they would pick up seed pods and acorns and sticks and various things. And then we would experiment for a week just to what kind of lines we could make with basically just India ink. And the students would make these great, wonderful sheets of paper with patterns and dots and everything else. And then we would rip them up and make a really beautiful collage. So it was this lovely thing of a lot of process and learning about art tools, but then also recycling it and turning it into something, where that the parents wouldn't be shocked at if it was hanging in the hallway. We try very hard to not scare the parents too much. They're not always like attuned to art. Okay, so that is like a brief introduction to what it would be like to work with India ink. And if you were going to do that, you would draw the portrait, probably one class, just explain how it would be done. And then the next class, you would ink it. And then the next class after that, you would paint it in watercolors. All right, but for our purposes, we're going to use just regular Sharpies. Remind me, did I give you a skinny Sharpie or a medium Sharpie? Did you get a thin one?
Skinny Sharpie.
Yeah, okay, so that's what I'll use today. So that the material I use is the one you use. Now, this again is a lesson plan. It's online right now. And it has the standards, the anchor standards, objectives, and it has some really bad printing of the images I wanted to show you. But anyway, so the idea of this particular portrait would be to, first of all, learn a little bit about facial features and where they are and what they look like, and just to start observing. So this drawing should be done using your phone or a mirror or whatever reflective surface you could look at yourself in. And it is, as I say here, you could either use India ink or Sharpie, but it's basically going to be watercolor over line. So we're going to do the lines today. And the one little twist with this one is I would like your background to say something about you. So I have examples here, and these are so bad, and I really apologize that my printer is acting up. But if you look at the ones online, because they're beautiful reproductions, this is a painting by Grant Wood of a guy named, let's see, what was his name? Parson Weems, Weems. And this is his portrait. But if you see in the background, you've got all kinds of narrative going on. And this is a little George Washington. And his father is very upset because I know you can't say it, he's just chopped down the cherry tree. And if you look even further back, you start seeing some other things that will add to the story. So you've got, the foreground is the portrait. Frida Kahlo is very well known for backgrounds that contribute to the meaning of her work. This is a Dutch painting of a jeweler, I think, and or he might be a goldsmith or something. And so he's got two customers, and you can see all his tools around there. So you could put something like your tools. If you're an art student, you could put some art background. Here we've got Vincent Van Gogh, and we have one of his Japanese prints that he liked so much in the background that he painted. But basically, not to forget the American Gothic painting, where you have the farm and the implement, the rake there, or it's really a pitchfork, I guess. Okay, so with little kids, I tend to really show them a face. And I'll do this on a whiteboard. Um, and I'll just try to get them to start looking a little, but I'm a lot easier uh, because it's art is a sequential thing, and if you do it one year and then you do it again, because I would do a portrait every single year in elementary school, they would just get better and better and more observant. So you might want to just give your students a little bit of a yes no, and I might do on a board like um, is your head shaped like a ball? And they usually would go, no. Is your neck a little tiny stick? No. Are your eyeballs way up at the top of your head like a frog? So I might make a thing like a kid. This is sort of like what a kid would draw without any art instruction usually. So I have here little things that I might tell them. I don't exactly want them to just get formulas, but I do want to make it easy for people to be able to draw something that's going to look a little more real. So I say your head is not round like a ball, your neck is not like a popsicle stick, your eyes are not at the top of your head, your eyes are somewhere right about in the middle, they're not round, they're a little almond shaped, and so on. So you have eyelids, probably observe them, see how they look. Everybody's are different. Eyebrows, your nose isn't a hook. So, and then I also give them a little bit of a handy hint on a nose and a mouth, but it's a little bit schematic and formulaic, but it will help them start to learn to observe. So I'm obviously not looking in a mirror. I'm just going to kind of do this for you really fast. I always like to make myself look about 40 years younger. So your head is more of an oval, eggy shape. I always tell them, you need to have it big on top so you have room for lots of brains. Your neck is bigger than you really would like it to be, probably. And I usually have the students do something like about that size, this size. So when we do eyes, you can sort of say, all right, they're just your eyes are a little above halfway on your face, and we want to make them almond shaped. So we make them almond shaped, and I make myself look very, very, very young, which is fun. They like to make themselves look old. Kids do. They'll make themselves look like teenagers or adults or something. Get some eyebrows in there. I might have made my eyes a little too far apart, but that's okay. It looks good. For the nose, the easiest way for me to teach a nose is that you have what I would call parentheses on each side. Some children will have a very thin kind of nose. Other people have a very wide one. So everybody's is different. Mine is sort of in between. So I start with the parentheses and you plot where they are. And of course, if they learn to sketch lightly, they can erase anything. I always explain that drawing is like pushing something in a shag carpet, and all of that graphite gets in there. Don't push too hard or you won't be able to erase it. You have to kind of keep the graphite on the surface so you can erase it. So then I say, look at underneath, because there's like a snaky shape. And a lot of people will have a snaky shape that is flat. Others will be round. And then you can sort of shade the end. And then I just tell them to make a bridge of their nose. And you end up getting a nose that looks fairly real. But, some kids' noses will be, really deep like that. Others will be very wide like that. You don't always see too much of the nostril. You can put the philtrum in there. They love learning the word philtrum. And then I don't usually encourage a wide open mouth, because teeth are so hard for children to draw. So I, just say you can try if you want to. Why not? I'm not going to control it. But um, if you close your mouth, the where your lips meet will be kind of a little bit of a wavy line, sort of like that. But of course, again, everybody has a difference. Some people have prominent ones. And then the top of the lip usually is a little bit like two mountains, like a mountain range right there. And then if they think of the bottom as sort of being like a boat, whatever shape it is, there it is. Now I've got these marionette puppet wrinkles going on here. So I got to stick those in for it to look more like me. Yeah, my eyes are really not this, they're closer together. But, for the sake of the demo, we'll just leave it like that. Now, I want to say something about me. Well, I've got PJ the cat, and we're up here quarantining together. So I'm going to put my cat in my picture, but you could put your pets, you could put yourself on vacation, where you were, where you wish you were. You can, here, let's just let him be kind of plopping on my shoulders with his little paws. And he's going to be looking up at me or sideways. There's PJ. Okay. And let's make him happy because he's a happy cat. Why wouldn't he be? And we can give him a tail. That would sort of kind of look like, okay. So there, I've done something in my background that says something. And I could put other details and pretend I'm somewhere else or whatever. And you can give yourself, some nice jewelry and whatever details you want. So then the next step is to oh wait, I gave you the skinny one you said. Just go over your lines with your Sharpie. Obviously, if you have India ink and you just go out and get a branch for yourself and do it in India ink, but I'm not expecting anybody to have India ink. So you just go over. The lines are very forgiving. When we get to the part where you are doing the painting, you'll see the paint will smear and do some things. And so basically, it's a very great thing to have a few little lines that will just give you some structure. And, kids really want to be proud of what they're doing. So it's very, very important that they get happy with it. So this particular lesson plan says, okay, add a background that has meaning. It can be fantasy, something narrative. And I'm going to show you a painting now a little bit. And, obviously you would temper this to different grades. Every grade would be a little bit different. Of course, did I bring water over here? No, I did not. Let me get some water. Okay, so for even the darkest skin color, I usually, even for like really dark African American skin, it's just easier usually to add a nice warm tone and start with orange. I know that seems kind of weird, but it's just the way these watercolors work. Now these are Crayola educational watercolors. I really like them. Now I'm going to make my skin very splotchy because if you just take a little bit of water and a little bit of orange and you're very fair, you're going to get a peachy color like that. And we're using for this your drawing and painting paper. That's the one where the Sharpie went through. Emilio just said hi. And then,
yes, I know very well.
So you've had some experience. You got to wake up the watercolors a little here. But now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little brown now to this color. And you can see the tone is going to start changing. And then maybe a little more. and keep going. Some children will have really dark, really, really dark, almost kind of charcoaly. And if that's the case, you can put a little black in there too. It kind of just depends on the skin tone. You want them to be proud of it. I have had African American children who want to make themselves white, and I've had white children who want to make themselves African American. Go figure. But I would always try to teach them pride in whatever their skin was, and I would show all the different skin tones, just like I'm doing right now, so that everybody would just know that we're all just very different. And so there's lots of different ways to paint yourself. I'm not looking for huge tonal things. Don't forget to paint the neck as well. Now, the one thing you have to be worried about here is fuzzy caterpillar mistakes. So here, let's just pretend, oh no. Don't ever put a Sharpie over anything wet because it'll kill it. So I'll just do that much. And let's just say I start and I paint this like this. And there will be kids who do this and they're very excited. And then they want to give themselves some lipstick and they'll go in here like this. And what you'll end up with will be a jam looking like you've just had a sandwich, because it'll start to bleed. And there's very little you can do. You can dab it a little bit, but I tell them, paint the skin and then be patient and let it dry, because over the dry watercolor, you can get a really perfect pink cheeks and gorgeous outlines for your lips and eye color. But you can't do it while it's wet because it'll just keep spreading. And so it's a capillary action idea. And you don't want them to learn that the hard way. So this should be a very easy week for you from that point of view, because it's just one little thing. Although there is going to be just a tad of homework that I think will be fun and very simple. So we're just going to use this paper, one self-portrait with something in the background that's going to give me a little something about you, however, whatever you want to do it. So does anybody have any questions about this?
Can we use pencil and then go over it?
Yeah, use pencil, but I would prefer you to use the watercolor as the coloring thing. You can always go over watercolor when it's dry with colored pencil too, for the coloring aspect of it. But I have found that the combination of ink and or Sharpie with watercolor is a no-brainer for a lot of work with children, just because the linear aspect of it, the line, is very, very forgiving, because you are going to have kids that are going to spill out their colors every which way, and they'll still be very, very, very beautiful. So this is going to teach a lot about color mixing, and it's going to teach a certain amount about facial features, and it's going to teach a little bit about lines, a little bit about observation, but it's got an imaginative piece in that they're going to personalize it in some way. Okay, so that should be what you do. Now, in your sketchbook journal, the little tiny assignment, I'm going to just turn this over. I love to use the back of things. I'm going to move that.
Professor?
Yes, sure.
So after we do the watercoloring, like we color, we go over it with the Sharpie, like outline.
Sharpie first and the watercolor second. Just the way I do it.
Okay.
You see, draw it in pencil so you can erase it. Go over every line in Sharpie, then watercolor it. Watercoloring is the last thing.
Professor,
Yes.
I have a pen with like a series of different thickness nibs,
Yes.
and I have sumi ink. Can I use that instead of India ink?
Yes. Sumi ink and India ink are probably one and the same. Is it a liquid or is it a stick?
I have a stick and then I have a jar of liquid. It's more like calligraphy ink.
Yeah.
If I watercolor over it, will the lines just
Mhm.
blur?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a
Yep.
pen or you just could get a stick? See, it would be
I
hard.
have a pen with like 10 different nibs.
Oh, you're going to use the Inkanet. I would check online because Sumi ink might clog that pen if it's like a Kohinoor or something like that. Just make sure that the ink is good to use with that particular pen. Otherwise,
It's sort of, the ink that I have is kind of like calligraphy ink or Chinese brush painting ink.
I would not put that ink inside a pen that it's not made for because it could dry and clog and ruin your beautiful pens. I would check that out.
No, the pen, it's just like a handle with different nibs, and the nib you dip in and don't blow up the pen.
The old-fashioned kind, the metal ones.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Oh, yeah, that'll work fine.
And then the ink won't, when I watercolor over it, will the ink just turn to gray, or what do you think?
No, I would test it first because Sumi ink should be permanent.
Got it. Thank
So
you.
don't do the whole thing. Just do a little test for yourself, and then you can let me know whether it worked or not.
Will do.
Okay,
Thanks.
that's good. All right. So in your sketchbook journal, this is going to be something you can just do it, while you're drinking or something. Happy St. Patrick's Day. It's basically taking a line for a walk, and in your sketchbook journal on one page, you could use a Sharpie, but you could use a pencil. I don't really care what you're going to use for it. It's just basically taking a line for a walk, but never letting the line cross itself. So you can do some interesting things. Just remember, you gotta kind of not let it ever cross itself. So you can use organic lines, you can use geometric lines. This is a great little thing to get kids to just invent, work off a little bit of steam, and you're going to wind up with a whole page that's going to look like Keith Haring gone wild. And you just keep going and keep going, following. And obviously, please don't do, this is not my idea of taking a line for a walk. That is my idea of being lazy. So that's not going to win you any prizes. So take a line for a walk. That's just like a little fun doodly thing for your sketchbook journal, just to keep your batteries charged. So online are the good photographs of the images, and you probably would want to show a few images and get a class discussion going as to what the kids would notice in the background. Especially this one is really great because there are a lot of subtexts in there, and you can tell me what you saw next week when we go over this. So 131, I think I am done with you. Yes.
That was all for 1:30. What time should I come back after 1:31?
Well, let's see. I would not come back, let's see, easily 45 minutes, I would say.
Okay. Thank
45 minutes, but otherwise, you could always, I leave the Zoom going. The easiest way to make sure, because sometimes I'll go and I'll leave the studio for a second, but the Zoom is on. If you text me, I will see that you're waiting for me or something like that. If for some reason I'm not here. Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. So there should be like ample things on Blackboard. I did put them on today. Now 1:30. If you want to see what this next thing is, it's really kooky interesting, I do think. So I think what I'm going to do is I will take my life into my hands. I'm going to pause here and set up set up for what is going to be tunnel books. But before we do that, remember I was telling you I had a sample from, this isn't from my daughter, it's from some other